Alright, this is problem 1 from test review number 3. And I thought I should go over this because a few people had it right and some people weren't quite getting the last part of it. So in this problem, suppose that tuition at your college is $110 per credit hour if you carry fewer than 12 hours. Well, I put this equation down to indicate that part of the problem. So every time you have a credit hour, you multiply it by 110 as long as your X, or the number of credit hours, is less than 12 credit hours. But it goes on to say, and then the tuition is $1,320 or $1,320 per semester if you carry 12 or more hours. So when the number of credit hours is greater or equal to 12, then you just have your tuition is simply $1,320. So that gives us two sort of equations here. Y, or the total tuition, could just be a flat rate, or it can be dependent on how many credit hours you're carrying under 12. So when you're making your grid here, or your points, and you're trying to put X and Y values into these equations, as soon as you have an X value of 12 or greater, you have to use this formula. So these points use this formula. I meant to make that blue. And these points, let's make this blue, they're under 12 for credit hours, use this formula. So what we really have is sort of like two lines all connected together. If I have 8 credit hours, 8 times $110 is $880. If I have 10 credit hours, that's 10 times $110, which is $1,100. So if we were to plot those points, 8 and 880, we would have roughly 8 here, and then 6, 7, 8. We'd be somewhere here. Kinda, let's see. 880, a little taller. Right about there. So here's the 880, here's the 8 credits, and then here's roughly the 880. Okay, so then our next point is 10 and 1100. It's a little easier. We've got 10 up to this line here, and I don't have a grid. I kind of drew this crudely. So what we have is 2 points and a nice little slope there. But once we get to graphing these points, 12, 15, and 20, we have the same Y, because no matter how many credit hours you're carrying, you're just charged $1,320. So at 12 credit hours, you'll have $1,320, which is right about there. Right, it's really hard to do this. So what we should have is a straight line, this line connecting these points, but once we have additional credit hours, we are still at the same Y value. So 15 plots there, and then 20, which would be out here, plots about there. So our line does not have a continual angle like that. It flattens out. So you should have a graph that looks like this. Some people didn't have the line flattening out because you weren't catching the second half of the problem, which is that once you hit 12 credit hours, you just have a flat rate, and so your Y flattens out to 1320. So overall, does this pass the vertical line test? Yes, it does, because anytime you draw a vertical line, you're not having more than one point. So if you draw a vertical line through here, it only crosses the line once. It doesn't cross it twice. Just crosses once. Just crosses once. And that's hard to show here. But yes, it passes the vertical line test, so it is a linear function. Okay, and I hope that straightens out that one.